impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
Hi, Steve here. For those of you who don't understand what COVID-19 is all about, I'm going to share with you what you still may not know. Americans are some of the most frail and overweight people on earth. They're dumbed down, they're entitled, and easily deceived. The rest of them are too lazy to ever research anything they hear from nightly news about any topic. The country that once was called the most powerful country on earth is being disassembled, one piece at a time. And people are so asleep. They see what's happening, but really don't understand that their destruction is right around the corner. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, and especially Bill Gates have made it very clear what their goal is for all the world. They want the vaccination of millions of people in all countries. What's behind such a valiant philanthropic effort to save mankind? Dr. Fauci says that if everyone steps up to the plate and gets their vaccination, we could get back to some form of normalcy.
I got a short answer section for you here, all right? Just some questions that keep coming up.
Okay.
Why do I have to keep wearing the mask after I get the vaccine? I thought it was going to protect me from the vaccine. What's the answer?
Well, the answer is unless you get the overwhelming majority of the country vaccinated and protected and get that umbrella of what we call herd immunity, there's still a lot of virus out there.
There's still a lot of virus out there.
So just because you're protected, so-called protected by the vaccine, you need to remember that you could be prevented from getting clinical disease and still have the virus that is in your nasopharynx because you could get infected. We're not sure at this point that the vaccine protects you against getting infected.
We're not sure at this point that the vaccine protects you against getting infected.
We know for sure it's very, very good, 95% in protecting you against clinically recognizable disease.
Clinically recognizable disease, but not COVID?
And almost 100% in protecting you for severe disease.
And almost 100% from severe disease? Well, then what does he call COVID if that's not serious?
But until you have virus that is so low in society, we as a nation need to continue to wear the mask, to keep the physical distance, to avoid crowds. We're not through with this just because we're starting a vaccine program.
We're not through with this just because we're starting a vaccine program.
Even though you as an individual might have gotten vaccinated, it is not over by any means. We still have a long way to go, and we've got to get as many people as possible vaccinated of all groups.
What does that take? When are we fully vaccinated?
Well, the projection that I've made, and I hope it works this way, it's going to depend upon the people's willingness to come up and step up to the plate and get vaccinated.
People's willingness to step up to the plate and get vaccinated.
If you go now through December, January, February, March, you likely will have the people who fall into the high priority groups get vaccinated. When, let's say, you get into April, I would project by the time you get to April, it will be, I guess you want to call it open season in the sense of anyone, even the non-high priority groups, could get vaccinated.
Are we going to have graduations next May? June?
You know, I don't know about this time, this cycle as we go into the spring. It's really going to depend, again, Chris, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's the truth. It depends how quickly and how many people want to get vaccinated. If we have a smooth vaccination program where everybody steps to the plate quickly, we could get back to some form of normality reasonably quickly into the summer and certainly into the fall. My hope and my projection is that if we get people vaccinated en masse so that we get that large percentage of the population, as we get into the fall, we can get real comfort about people being in school, safe in school, be they K-12 or college. That's what I hope and project we would do if we get everybody vaccinated.
Let me just point out three things that most people are overlooking with this big push to vaccinate every man, woman, and child. Why now? We've never looked for herd immunity before now from any disease in the history of mankind. We've never had a vaccine developed in months, when normally it takes 10 to 15 years. We've never rolled out a vaccine to the world's population that was never tested on any animal, but now it's being injected into the arms of human beings. And we've never had a vaccine with mRNA in it, with the ultimate results of not even being known by the so-called experts of what it might do. Fauci says just because you're protected, so-called protected, by the vaccine. Wait a minute. If we're only so-called protected, why are we taking it? We're not sure at this point that the vaccine protects you against getting infected. Notice he didn't say we could get back to normal and life will return to what it was in 2019. His boss, Bill Gates, goes even further in his demand.
But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
If you've never heard of the Bitterman Report, let me explain what this has to do with COVID-19. On November 13th, 1956, as part of a panel discussion on communist methods of interrogation and indoctrination, Dr. Alfred D. Bitterman gave his full citation, titled Communist Coercive Methods for Eliciting Individual Compliance. It was presented at a combined meeting of the Section of Neurology and Psychiatry with the New York Neurology Society at the New York Academy of Medicine. This report is based on work done under ARDC, project number 7733, task 77314, in support of the research and development program of the Air Force Personnel and Training Research Center, Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. This is the primary report on communist brainwashing techniques used by the Chinese and North Koreans on captured American pilots and other military members to get false confessions and propaganda statements supporting the communists and against the UN forces fighting them. It was, and to some extent still is, the core source for capture resistance training for the U.S. Air Force and to some extent for the other services, and has been since the late 1950s. Dr. Bitterman included this layout of two charts from the report to simplify understanding of this tool. These are the original outlines of Dr. Bitterman's tools and techniques. And then here's a comparison chart. You can go down the list and see that every single one of these is being used in this 2020 PSYOP being played out every day now. Now let me address those who are born-again Christians watching this video. For those of you that are faithfully complying to man's orders to wear your face mask and you're waiting patiently to get the vaccine, ask yourself a simple question. Why am I really going to take the vaccine? If you're considering doing it. Is it because everyone else is doing it? Is it because you fear getting the virus? Or is it only because you fear losing your job or your great career? In Proverbs, it says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." In fact, the writer of Proverbs said it in two different places. That's how important it is. The Apostle Paul told the Christians in Romans chapter 12, "I beseech you, or I exhort you, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." Paul told the Corinthian Christians, "Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you're not your own? For you were bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." I can just hear thousands of you saying, "But hey, if I don't take this vaccine, I'll lose my job." That tells me you fear man more than you fear God. You'd rather put something into the temple where the Holy Spirit lives in you rather than trust God to provide for you, other than your current job. Paul said, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Maybe that's why Jesus said in Luke 18:8, when the Son of Man returns, will he really find faith on the earth? Think about it.